Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Kijewski and I'm your host today. Welcome to another online event by Warsaw Institute, one of the leading think tanks in Central and Eastern Europe focusing on geopolitics. We proudly support the Free Sea Initiative and mutually beneficial transatlantic relations. And today I have an honor to welcome our special guest, Madame Ambassador Georgette Mosbacher. Madame Ambassador, great to have you here.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Thank you very much for taking your time. Madame Ambassador is an internationally recognized entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and philanthropist, and a diplomat. She was the first woman to serve as the U.S. ambassador to Poland. As an ambassador, she was very instrumentally involved in promoting the Free Sea Initiative, including the U.S. contribution to the fund, to the Free Sea Fund, which is $1 billion US. And Madame Ambassador was awarded Grand Cross of Order of Merit by Polish president. She also was instrumental in acquiring by Poland the US visa waiver program, which we were the first country in 5 years to have this privilege. Madame Ambassador, she is also a great entrepreneur, successful businesswoman. As a corporate marketing and management consultant in her own enterprises, she helped businesses succeed in nearly 100 countries. And Madame Ambassador holds a Bachelor of Science from Indiana University. If I may ask, Madame Ambassador, what was your major at your studies?
Communications.
Communication. Okay, wonderful. And today's topic is the Free Sea Initiative, new developments, and we would like to talk about U.S. policy, U.S. strategy towards the Free Sea Initiative and Washington's relations with Central Europe. Let me proceed to a series of questions, if I may, Madame Ambassador.
Yes.
So considering in Europe, of course, the Free Sea Initiative is very well-known project, especially in Central and Eastern Europe. But if you could tell us why the US is interested in supporting the Free Sea Initiative, why it's so important to Washington's interests?
Well, I think it's simply, as the United States looks to confront Russian and Chinese economic and geopolitical competition in Europe, well, and across the world, the Three Seas Initiative offers an opportunity to strengthen the economies of U.S. allies in Central and Eastern Europe and reduce their dependence on Moscow and on Beijing's economic overtures. They've certainly, Beijing with the 17+1 has been very assertive here, as well as we've seen what Russia has done in being provocative with their incursion into Ukraine and Georgia. So it's in the interest of the United States to push back and to make sure that our allies here are strong, resilient.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. In which dimensions the Free Sea Initiative can be a game changer in Central and Eastern Europe? In Central Europe, and especially medium and smaller countries like Poland. I mean, what are the chances of improving infrastructure, interconnectivity, energy, business, and other aspects of our regional cooperation?
Well, first of all, Central Eastern Europe, when you look at it as a whole, it's 100 million people. Of course, that makes a very attractive market for investors and for companies to come in and invest. By I think by the three C's countries working together to bring their infrastructure up to Western standards, they can better compete. And bottom line is today, the competition is worldwide. You're just not competing with your neighbor, you're competing with the whole world. And you have to have the infrastructure that allows you to be competitive. And I think that's, that is what the three C's offers, the three C's initiative. And that continuity and the fact that by putting the three C's countries together, it is a very attractive market, and it also the resilience of being able to have that infrastructure that is cross-border.
The US, of course, is undoubtedly the most powerful country of the Transatlantic Alliance and NATO. How would you assess the potential for increasing Washington's engagement in the Free Sea Initiative?
Well, we already, President Biden and Secretary Blinken have publicly endorsed the Three Seas Initiative, have publicly said that they support the Three Seas Initiative. So I would say that at that level, when you have the President of the United States stepping out, as well as the Secretary of State stepping out and saying that the Three Seas Initiative is important to the resilience and to the EU as a whole. The United States is invested in certainly a strong and united Europe. The Three Seas Initiative allows that to become even more resilient.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And apart from the US involvement in Free Seas, what can be the role of other international stakeholders in this initiative, like Japan, for instance, or other countries? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, the Three Seas Initiative, the foundation of it is the fact that these projects, the Three Seas Initiative, will be public-private partnerships, and they will be competitive. They will have a return on investment. There is, in order for us to really see the full potential of infrastructure in both digital, energy, and transportation, to see that full potential, we need to attract outside private investment. It's one of the cornerstones of the Three Seas Initiative. And it can only be successful if we attract that outside investment. And of course, we shouldn't just limit ourselves to looking for investors in just Europe or even the US. We should, these projects should be attractive to investors in Japan, in South Korea, in Singapore, because they give a return on investment, they're long-term, and they're secure. So it is important that we attract investors, that we go to the full world pool of investors to attract money to the Three Seas Initiative.
Yes, this is a very good point, Madam Ambassador. I think the more Western countries are interested in the initiative, the more success it might have. So maybe some countries from the so-called Five Eye community can also consider supporting us in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that the Free Sea Initiative can be considered as a counterweight of China's activities in Central Europe? I mean, this format 17 plus 1 before and now without Lithuania.
Well, we've already seen how that 17 plus 1 works with China's predatory lending and Chinese wanting to dominate the economies of the countries that they go in. So I think it's important from the perspective of making the Central Eastern Europe and the infrastructure to compete but also to strengthen that infrastructure so that it attracts the capital from outside and can push back on the predatory lending of the Chinese.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Now I would like to ask about the regional cooperation in the form of so-called Lublin Triangle. At the meeting of this initiative, Ukrainian, Lithuanian and Polish foreign ministers paid attention to more cooperation in the region. Do you think that this format of cooperation can be valuable and could it somehow enhance the Free Sea Initiative?
Absolutely.
In the future.
Look, I think whenever the countries in the Central Eastern Europe can get together and work together to take their market and increase their competitiveness with the world and bring their infrastructure up to Western standards. And if you can do that by the countries coming together, whether it's the Visegrad 4, it doesn't matter. The fact is that they're working together. This is fundamental for this to succeed. I mean, today our borders are basically, they're invisible because our goods and services cross borders. And if we don't have the infrastructure in place, the laws, regulations that allow goods and services to cross border, then you're at a very disadvantage.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Now, if I may, I would like to focus a little bit on the EU and Germany role in the Free Sea Initiative. In the recent article co-authored with Mr. Fried and Mr. Brzezinski, What is the Free Sea Initiative? From Vision to Action, you highlighted the importance of a more active role of Germany in the Free Sea Initiative. Where this shift in US policy comes from, do you think it can be a contribution of value in the long term?
Well, I think, look, Germany, a lot of the trade between the Three Seas countries is done with Germany. And it's important that I think Germany support this, as we do, for this very same reasons the United States supports it. I think a strong integrated Europe, a strong infrastructure benefits all the countries in Europe, not just Central Eastern Europe. And I would like to see Germany step up and participate and encourage and support the Three Seas Initiative in the same way the United States is. We're not a member. We don't want to be a member, but we do want to be a strong advocate, and we do want to support the Three Seas Initiative in every way possible because it's in everyone's interest. Look, after Russia had a very definite plan that their infrastructure should be kept mostly on a east-west corridor. And that was to some degree because of Germany. And they also wanted to be able to dominate the countries behind the Iron Curtain. And so they didn't invest in particularly the north-south corridor in the Eastern Central Europe. So it is now important that we make a real effort to bring that infrastructure up to the standards of Western countries. I'll say it again. It's impossible to be really competitive in this world today if your infrastructure is not as robust as your competition.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. I'm asking about this issue because it's it's quite sensitive right now when we have this Nord Stream 2 developments in the background going on. That's why I think we will be providing valuable information for our audience to, let's say, to understand this all. Germany is one of the key EU economies and one of the biggest trade partners of the US. And do you think that Germany can contribute to the development of the Free Sea Initiative in a specific, let's say, sectors, areas of the economy, or it can be just a general, let's say, contribution?
Well, I think Germany can participate in a number of ways, just like the United States. First of all, it can invest in the Three Seas Fund. I think that would be a first step. Certainly, their companies will compete for the business in the Three Seas Initiative for these infrastructure deals. I think it's important that Germany be at the table, be supportive, because if for no other reasons, then their companies are going to want to compete for these projects. Germany is a leader in Europe, and to see Central Eastern Europe strengthened, more resilient, with the interconnectivity is fundamental to the success of the rest of Europe. That interconnectivity is going to be important for all of Europe to be able to stay competitive.
Yes. As there are some, let's say, many people are just thinking, especially societies in smaller and medium-sized European countries, whether the Berlin's engagement in the Free Sea Initiative may steer this initiative away from strengthening Central European economies and acquiring by them true geopolitical and political independence. Do you think that such doubts are justified?
I don't think they're justified, but I do understand them. And I do believe at one point both the EU and Germany felt that somehow this would be competitive with the EU. And of course, I don't believe that's true today. I think they understand the Three Seas Initiative today, and that there's nothing competitive about it. On the contrary, it enhances the competitiveness of the entire EU. And the Three Seas countries are all members of the EU. So they will continue to abide by the EU regulations and rules and so forth. So it should be looked as a complement and a strengthening to the EU and Germany, also as the resilience of Europe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, you take Poland is the eastern flank of NATO. The fact that Poland should have the infrastructure for interoperability with the other countries in NATO is fundamental to its being secure and it being operable with all of the other countries. So that kind of security is necessary, and I think that Germany and the EU now understand better that the Three Seas Initiative complements the security and the economic well-being of all of Europe instead of being any way competitive to Europe.
Yes, thank you very much. So this is the political and, let's say, strategic aspect of this involvement. And when it comes to business economic dimension of this cooperation, do you think that there might be some concerns that Free Sea Initiative was considered by Berlin as a kind of competition when it comes to its economic interest and business activity, or it's just not justified assessment. What's your view on this?
Well, anybody who's afraid of their competition is, in my opinion, already lost. I mean, good competition is healthy. It ensures value. It ensures quality. If you're always looking to your competition to make yourself better and more marketable, and I think it can only be positive. Now, look, these countries are competitive, of course, but nevertheless, if one's weak, they're all weak. You're the strongest, the weakest link in your chain. And I think that Central Eastern Europe provides a real opportunity with 100 million people to be also an incredible market for the other countries in the EU. So it is a win-win. As this infrastructure progresses and Eastern Europe, the standard of living rises, it only becomes a bigger market for its neighbors.
Yes, thank you very much. Now I would like to touch a little bit energy security issues and the Free Sea. How can the Free Sea initiative enhance specifically energy security in Europe, and in particular in Central and Eastern Europe?
Well, certainly energy, given the Soviet domination, energy was used as a weapon by Russia. By keeping the infrastructure to a degree where they controlled it, they could use energy as a weapon. Energy is the basis of everything. I mean, you can't schools, you can't have factories. I mean, you can't do anything you don't have energy. All right. Consequently, Russia has used it very effectively as a weapon. And now it's important that the three Seas countries, and they are doing it, by the way, LNG is playing a big role in that independence and diversification of energy. By you see the terminals that are built in both Poland and the pipelines that are on the list of projects to assure a consistent flow of energy that is competitive, where you have the ability to get your energy from several sources, makes a country independent. I mean, you can't have an independent country if you are dependent on particularly Russia for your energy. And this is, I think, maybe the most important pillar of the three pillars of the Three Seas Initiative, is the energy independence. Sure, we have to look at that bridge, and LNG is that bridge, but they have an opportunity, and you're seeing it right now with the fact that Poland didn't re-sign their contract with Gazprom. They will be energy independent next year. That is quite impressive, and gives Poland the opportunity not to be at the mercy of clearly unfriendly Russia.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And we couldn't, let's say, leave this topic unanswered. So let me ask you about Nord Stream 2. And how do you assess Germany's support to building to this project in the context of Europe's energy security, and especially NATO policy towards Russia right now? I remember that one of the U.S. ambassadors mentioned that Washington was, let's say, maybe not supportive, but was not very against Nord Stream 1 at some point of time, but Nord Stream 2 was considered even in the US as a kind of exaggeration or maybe not necessary move. How could you, let's say, help to understand this in Central European countries, this dilemma?
Well, I will tell you, I don't understand it. Nord Stream 1 and 2, it was misguided policy on our part, in my opinion. Nord Stream 1 and 2, but particularly 2, because it is meant to bypass the Ukraine. It is why Germany would enter into an agreement for energy that clearly keeps them dependent on Russia is something I don't understand, and I don't think I will ever understand it. This goes against everything that we're talking about with respect to energy being able to have a diversified place to go for your energy and have numerous companies to work with. Nord Stream 2 is a puzzlement to me. It is why Germany, how they can justify it. I don't think there is any justification for it. All it does is keep Europe, Germany dependent on Russian energy. And history has already shown us that Russia uses it as a weapon. So I am disappointed that the United States lifted the sanctions, even though I think we were late, because we should never have let Nord Stream 2 get off the ground, let alone get to the point it is today. But this goes against everything that we're talking about with respect to energy independence. And that is, again, I'll repeat myself, fundamental to the freedom of any country is to have energy independence and a diversification of streams of energy.
Yes, I mean, I agree 100% with your view on this. And I'm glad that you see this, the challenges and risks associated with this project for Central European countries. And I think it's also important to treat energy as an important element of defense capabilities, both in NATO
National security.
Yes.
Energy is a cornerstone of national security. If you subcontract that out to another country like Russia, particularly, you are putting your freedom, your national security at risk. And that's exactly what's happening with Nord Stream 1 and 2. And I just don't understand how we collectively allowed Germany to make that decision.
Yes, because right now the most critics in Europe focusing on Biden's administration stance towards Nord Stream 2, but to be just and sincere, we have to remember that this pipeline was being built during the previous administrations too, and of course
I think
maybe
it's misguided policy on the part of the United States. I wasn't a part of those administrations when Nord Stream 1 and 2 became reality, but I think we just missed it. This was something that we just were misguided with respect to our policy on, and continue to be misguided.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And the last, let's say, block of questions would be concerning Central Europe and the Free Sea Initiative. And this is an important one because the Free Sea Initiative is with us for several years now. And how can we speed up and deepen real integration and cooperation within this initiative? What is and what can be a role of Poland in this and other countries participating in the Free Sea initiative?
First of all, I think it's absolutely fundamentally important that every country in the Three Seas Initiative invest in the Three Seas Fund. You can't expect other people to put money into your projects if you're not willing to put money in it yourself. So I think the first step, and most of the countries have, there's still some that have not. Every country in the Three Seas should be invested in the Three Seas Fund. But more importantly, I think we are at a impasse here, or a crossroads, where if we don't set up a secretariat where there is a central place for people to go, and particularly prospective investors, it's got to be professional. It's a startup company. And for me, not to have, the key would be to elevate the Three Seas Initiative to the presidential level. Ideally, see every country in the Three Seas have a special envoy to the Three Seas that report to the president of that country. Elevate it to that degree. When you think about it, what is going to bring more prosperity to any one of the countries in the Three Seas than getting their infrastructure competitive? So first thing I would like to see is it being elevated to the presidential level. There'd be a special envoy that reports to the president. We put up a secretariat where there is someone full-time that is looking at these projects and in the context of what the regulations and the laws are in order that have to be changed in order for this cross-border infrastructure to work. We need someone that's doing that full-time, that's working on that, to get that in place for these projects, for us to attract the investors and get these projects up and actually working. Look, Eastern Central Europe today, as an investor, it is growing faster than Western Europe. It has everything in place: education, a motivated workforce, an educated workforce, stable governments, stable currencies. It has everything to attract outside investors, everything. Particularly the fact that it's growing in double digits, something that you can't say about France or Italy or Spain. So it's an attractive place to invest. But to do that, you have to have the ability to reach out to those investors with the projects that are viable, competitive for a rate of return on your investment. So they've got to be private sector organized. And to do that, I think we really need to put a secretariat together, an office that is properly staffed with someone that is just, their job is to look at these projects, see what laws and regulations have to be changed in order for them to cross border and to get serious about this. It's one thing, look, the Three Seas Initiative can be a game changer for the region. Again, 100 million people. This is a very attractive, how do I say this? It's very attractive with respect to when you have 100 million people, you've got a market that's very attractive. And it sits between, you look at, in Poland, it's the gateway for China into Western Europe, right? So you have an opportunity to be in that, to pick up some of that, manufacturing that we no longer are confident in China doing. There's that opportunity, but without the infrastructure in place, without the outside investment to get this infrastructure up and running, it's not going to happen. We're going to continue to talk about this and continue to discuss the Three Seas Initiative and how fabulous it is, and have another summit, but not see results. And I really think the one thing that's holding this back is the fact that the Three Seas countries cannot get together, put up a proper secretariat, staff it properly, put an envoy from each country that reports back to the president of that country. It's got to be high level for this to work. And we've got to get to that point. We've got to get to the point of moving this into a real effective, results-oriented operation. And the only way to do that is to have a secretariat staffed with the people that will do this, and with that are answering to the presidents of each of these countries. This initiative has the opportunity, when you look at it, digital highway, transportation, energy. It has the opportunity to really take Central Eastern Europe and make it a truly shining example of what a region can do to market itself, and which is only complementary to the EU, to Germany, because a strong, resilient Europe is good for everyone. Nobody wants their neighbor to be a failed state. Nobody, if your neighbor takes care of their lawn and paints their house and takes care of their property, your property value goes up. It's as simple as that. So by strengthening the 12 countries in the initiative, it only strengthens all of Europe. And that's the best example I can make, because if you have a country that is a failed country next door, it's going to bleed into your country. So it is in the best interest of the Three Seas countries to really come together, get serious, put up a secretariat, get these projects in a form that we can go out and attract foreign capital. And I mean have a salesman. Let me just put it pretty crudely. Have someone that is a salesman that is taking these projects to other countries and to sell them for investment. And it's going to take that kind of specificity and that kind of organization if we're going to move from the Three Seas Initiative being a fabulous idea to truly being transformational. And I think it's the only thing holding us back at this point. And I think the Three Seas Fund, the fact that your country's invested in that fund is very attractive to other investors, because they know if a country has money in it, their money is probably safe and secure. It's the fund, if for no other reason, Three Seas Fund is important as a message to investors that Three Seas countries are very serious about these projects being successful and having a return on investment. And this has got to be the focus now. The focus is, how do we take this from this concept to actually getting these projects off the ground and funded? And the only way I think we're going to do that is when we get serious about what you need. It's like a startup company. What do you need for that foundation, for that company to thrive? And we need to take a look at that and put those things in place to move the initiative to something that is really giving us results.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. I think you have right in many, you're right in many aspects of this, and especially in this aspect of time. I believe that we have to do more and to use this time we have right now, the peace in Central Europe, which was a rare thing in last centuries. So I think we should do much more and much faster than we are doing right now. So I hope it will speed up in the right direction.
We have to get this to the presidential level, not just the presidents of the three C's countries coming together once a year for the summit. No, we need it to be at the presidential level to understand what it means for their country to get this investment and get this infrastructure to Western standards. And to do that, I think we do need for each country to designate someone that is reporting back with clear definition of what those results should look like, what the expectations are, and put this into a business plan. And take each one of those projects, put it into a business plan where you can take it, and we need someone to do this. Take it to investors around the world, show them why it makes sense to invest in Central Eastern Europe, why it makes sense to invest in these infrastructure projects, because they're long-term investments, they give a good rate of return, and these are just the kind of things. There are investment funds around the world. Sovereign funds have investment funds for infrastructure. And Central Eastern Europe is in a unique position to really attract this capital. But it has got to have the basics in place to make that happen. And that requires a business plan, an office, and quality people that can actually go and do this. It's not enough to talk about it.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And the last question would be about your advice. What advice could you give to Poland and other Central European countries interested in strengthening long-term peace and economic prosperity in the region, also somehow cultural freedoms and independence, their specifics? Just maybe some of your thoughts.
So simply, a country that has a very robust middle class, and that's a country that offers security to its citizens, offers jobs, decent health care, good education. These are the countries that literally invest in those things, make those priorities. When you have a growing middle class, you have a strong country. And Central Eastern Europe has everything in place to grow and to continue the remarkable growth that they've seen up till now. But this is a time for them collectively, and that's what the beauty of the Three Cs initiative is, that collectively they can get together. And by strengthening their infrastructure cross-border, they create jobs, they create a standard of living that attracts people, keeps your talent in the country, and it is resilient. So you want a thriving middle class, and to do that, you need to have the infrastructure in place and the investment in place for the education, for the health care, for the transportation, for the digital highway. we live in a world where our borders are almost nondescript because our goods and services are crossing borders every day. We are integrated with one another. And the quality of that integration comes with the quality of the infrastructure. And this is the opportunity we have here with the 3Cs initiative. But it will take, and I repeat, at the highest level of government to make this work. And it will be a model for the world. This public-private sector initiative will be a model, and it can be successful. It can attract capital. It will attract capital. These projects are real, they're quality, they're long-term in every one of these countries. But only if we get together and we do what we have to do to push it forward.
To coordinate it somehow. Yes, yeah, I agree with you. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And just one last question from our audience. There were many questions. We don't have, unfortunately, time to present them all, but having in mind that you were awarded the highest departments of the Army civilian award, could you comment somehow the situation in Afghanistan right now for one of our viewers, please?
Well, I'll do my best. The United States has been in Afghanistan for 20 years. We have spent $3 billion. Now, I'm of the school of thought that, you know what, when you've been there that long and you've spent that much and it's not working, maybe you can't make it work. It is time to leave. The amount of money that's been spent, but more importantly, the amount of men and women who have given so much to that effort. Maybe if 20 years doesn't do it, it is time to leave. Now, I'm not saying we left in a way that I think it could have been better coordinated. Certainly, it could have been done better. But leave, I think it was time for us to leave. And I do think now it's time for Russia, China, Iran, India, Pakistan to now pick up the mantle because they're really in the middle of it. And they're going to have to now step up and do what they have to do to keep their country safe. I think at some point you have to say, okay, this isn't working and it's not going to work. And you have to step out. I think that's where we are. And I'm sorry the way it was done. I think it was sloppy and the way it was done, but I totally agree with the fact that it was time to leave.
I see. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Well, time is running out for us, so let me conclude the meeting and let me say that it was an honor to have you as our guest here. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I have to say I miss Poland. It has a very special place in my heart. I will be there the first week of September, but Poland is now, it's a part of me, and I am as much invested in Poland's success as the U.S., and I am honored to be co-chairing the 3Cs initiative. I do believe it's transformational, and I want to thank everyone, certainly everyone in Poland, who so warmly welcomed me and gave me that opportunity to strengthen both of our countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also strongly believe that mutual cooperation, mutually beneficial cooperation is possible and it will be developing even stronger and deeper in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, we would like to thank you very much for your time and interest. And it was an honor to host this Diplomacy Talk series event by Warsaw Institute. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon and evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.